Welcome to the Futures of Education in Quezon City, Shared Preferred Scenarios by 2050. The sudden changes brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic will go down in history as one of the most challenging and biggest adjustments that the education sector has faced. The effect of this health crisis spans across all sectors in our society, which made the most challenging shift for the education sector with distance and modular learning. It has been pointed out that the sudden change made it more difficult to provide access to quality education. As time progresses and innovation continues to rise to improve the quality of life, educational institutions heed the call to adapt, not just because of the pandemic but also due to the presence of new technologies that may improve the quality of education. 30 years from now, it may be different from what education is today. But one thing is certain, we should envision a better experience for everyone. In this video, we will be discussing 4 scenarios based on 2 variables as shown in the figure. The first scenario is where universities and LGU do not co-innovate to advance the best scenarios for the QC education futures, but the national government has centralized plans that are well aligned to those of the QC LGU. While on the other hand, for the second scenario, universities and the LGU are able to co-innovate with the LGU to advance the best scenario, and the plans of the national government are well aligned to those of the LGU. Third, we will discuss what will happen if universities and the LGU do not co-innovate and the execution of the national development plans for education fails. Lastly, the fourth scenario will showcase the situation where universities and the LGU co-innovate, but the execution of the national government plans for education fails. The first scenario is entitled "The One That Got Away," since it will discuss the missed opportunities in the university LGU partnerships. Elementary to college study plans and programs are directed to the national goals and objectives with aligned plans and projects from DepEd, CHED, and DOST. Graduates may seek opportunities elsewhere if their skills are not suited for their community. Universities, especially SUCs, will not be able to rely or turn to the LGU when there is a lack of collaboration between them, hence may lead to failed projects. Lastly, the approved plans and projects for the education sector, especially for basic education, are not what the LGU needs, hence misuse and inefficient use of funds. The next scenario is
The next scenario, or scenario 2, is entitled "Teamwork Makes the Dream Work." In this case, collaboration is very important to be able to realize all the plans and programs for the development of the education sector. So, under scenario 2, we have the following. The youth is proactive enough to join in the planning process and to help the LGU as their research arm to address pressing concerns and implement the mandates of the national government to their locals, specifically for Quezon City. Next one, formulation of plans will be consultative. Thus, projects and programs are inclusive for everyone in the society. Funds for the education sector will be enough for the plans and programs. Thus, education will be more accessible to everyone. The implementation of the K-12 program will be well funded enough to sustain and give access to quality from kinder to higher education. Next one, planning will be made easier and more long-term compared to blanket policies because they are now research and evidence-based, with the help of partner universities enabling the city to provide the appropriate opportunities for graduates. This will translate to the quality of education in schools and universities, where it will continue to increase due to the proper training of teachers and resource provision and assistance to students. Although the education faced massive changes brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in the mode of delivery, curriculum has improved and is varying studied according to the needs of the city to produce more job opportunities within the LGU and employ a lot of citizens, which can alleviate the quality of life in the city. The out of school youth may decrease in number since the students are being provided with support to continue with their studies. For example, allowances or tuition fee assistance. Lastly, curriculums will be suited for the current trends and students will be able to be globally competitive. The current curriculum should be improved to legitimately employ the jobless and help parents as well. Skill-based courses will emerge in this scenario. The next scenario is Scenario 3 is entitled Run for Your Lives. This is what we often say when something bad or dangerous happens. In this case, if there is no collaboration at all and the national development plans are not executed, then the education sector will be at its lowest. This is dangerous because education is important to train and educate individuals who play a big role in the growth and development of our country. Under this scenario, we have the following. First is lack of funding for education. Thus, plans and programs are not subpar to other countries. Quality of education will continue to decline since there is a lack of collaboration with the universities and LGU to initiate change in the system of education. The number of students not enrolling in school might increase since they do not see any good initiatives for the improvement and development of education or the education sector. Training and development of teachers may not be enough to serve quality education to the students. If the universities and LGU will not consult with each other, then the needs of the teachers and the students might not be addressed by both the local and the national government. The universities might get demotivated to conduct researches since they are not fully supported nor funded. This can consequently result in the education sector problems not being addressed. It can also possibly lead to some citizens doubting the importance of education. And lastly, the economy may also be affected in the long run since the people did not have a quality education. In this case, they might be lacking the necessary skills and knowledge needed for the workplace. The next scenario is
The fourth scenario is entitled Practice Makes Perfect, because despite the failure of national development plans, the LGU and universities continue to co-innovate to improve the education. Quality of education will continue to decline since the national government itself does not give much prioritization to the education sector. This includes a lack of funds for plans and projects that were made with the LGU. Poor implementation and risk management are included. Curriculums will continue to remain the same, which is not beneficial, especially for long-term goals, since there are changes that occur over time which need to be addressed. Hence, graduates will not be equipped with the proper skills and knowledge needed, which will the quality of life for future generations. Next, universities will suffer from lack of funding for research. The sector will have a hard time in allocating funds for innovations and future projects. Now moving on to the conclusion. Our part to contribute to this future is to highlight the importance of incorporating futurist planning in the education system. The national government must collaborate with LGUs in order to have the most effective plan. There are numerous factors that must be considered when talking about the future of education in the country, and it must be prioritized for a better nation building. Lastly, education is key in making ensure that the future generations are capable of leading the country. To conclude this video, let us close by reiterating the quote of Benjamin Franklin that rings until today: an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Let's invest in the future. Invest in the future of education. Thank you.